Director Rafael Grassi on March 22nd of this year made it very clear that he believes the enriched uranium in Iran stands at 60%. So why would he say that? He would say,
that's not exactly what he said. He said that they have 60.
I got the quote right here.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
Well, I'm battling quotes then.
Well, what'd you think? I'm just going to let you take it out of context, like you did on your show last night? Not here. Here, we're going to give you the context.
In today's video, Chris Cuomo obliterates Bill O'Reilly on News Nation. Now, here's the thing. This isn't just about whether Iran is a threat. It's about how solid the intelligence really is and whether political narratives are getting ahead of the facts. Reports from groups like the International Atomic Energy Agency have confirmed higher enrichment levels, but that alone doesn't equal a nuclear weapon, and that nuance often gets lost. But before we dive into today's video, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one.
What is your assessment of how the negotiations seem to be being approached by the various parties here? Is this America letting the regime lead?
There's an accommodation being made by President Trump because he does this in his negotiating history. He wants to get a deal. And he told me 4 weeks ago that this was his preference, not military action. And he thought he might be able to crack the first wave of the mullahs before they are duly departed. But that didn't happen. Now, the mullahs basically are playing to their jihadist crew. So they're not going to admit any weakness. They're going to say, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. But the power is all in the hands of the United States and Israel at this point.
Hegseth saying we know exactly what they have. Israel doesn't say they know exactly what they have. Obviously, there was a miscalculation during the initial campaign last summer, and the assessments were grossly exaggerated, if not outright deceptive. But they haven't had any real monitoring in 5 years.
No, but the director, Rafael Grassi, on March 22nd of this year, made it very clear that he believes the enriched uranium in Iran stands at 60%. So why would he say that? He would say...
that's not exactly what he said. He said that they have 60...
I got the quote right here.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
Well, I'm battling quotes then.
Well, what'd you think? I'm just going to let you take it out of context, like you did on your show last night? Not here. Here, we're going to give you the context. The context is...
I didn't take it out of context on my show.
Yeah, you did.
No, you said, quote, we don't know what the nuclear capabilities were.
Yeah,
Rossi knows.
Right.
Rossi knows. So it's who's we?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Here's what he said. He said that they have 60% enriched uranium. Why? Because Iran says they were going to do it after what they said was Israel hitting one of their enrichment facilities. They were never able to go in and verify it. The weeks away idea, says Grassi, is a hypothetical that could be enriched further. However, he says, that is only one step in building a usable nuclear weapon that could take additional complex steps that could take months or even years.
All right, look.
That's the context.
You can believe what you want to believe, but
no,
I'm believing his words.
Just say, I'm corrected, let's move on.
Now, when you dig into the nuclear issue with Iran, the details matter a lot more than the headlines. Yes, reports from the International Atomic Energy Agency have confirmed uranium enrichment levels reaching around 60%. That's high, no doubt. But here's the part people skip. Weapons-grade uranium is typically around 90%, and even getting there doesn't mean you suddenly have a nuclear weapon. There's a whole second phase that's way more complicated. weaponization. That includes designing a warhead, miniaturizing it, and developing a delivery system that actually works. US intelligence assessments in past years, even under different administrations, have repeatedly said that crossing from enrichment to a usable weapon isn't immediate. It can take months, sometimes longer, depending on the infrastructure. And another big point here is monitoring. After the US pulled out of the JCPOA, Iran reduced cooperation with inspectors. That means less visibility, which ironically makes the situation harder to assess accurately. So when people speak with total certainty about timelines, it's worth questioning where that certainty is coming from. That's why Chris Cuomo's angle hits, because it pushes back on the idea that everything is crystal clear. Intelligence isn't always black and white, especially in a situation where access is limited and politics are heavily involved. At the end of the day, this isn't just about whether Iran is a threat, it's about whether the public is getting a precise fact-based picture, or a simplified version that leans more on fear than nuance.
And I'm not going to say that because it wouldn't be true. You made the mistake, and this is the quote.
No, I did not make a mistake.
All right,
go ahead.
Keep quiet for a second.
No, it's my show, pal. If you don't like it, you can go.
You don't want me to read the quote because it's going to make you look foolish.
Read it.
Read it. Here's the quote.
Don't point. Be a man. Don't be a big mouth. Read it.
Margaret Brennan, this is a quote that Grassi gave her. One, most notably, the inventory of enriched uranium at 60%, which is very close to the degree you need to make a bomb. That's what the man said. Now, where did he get his information?
He said more than that. He said, well, first of all, that's a good question. I'll give you that one. That one's not some ham-fisted, opportunistic judgment.
He got it from Mossad and the American intel agencies.
No, that's not what he says. He says they still have their own surveillance mechanisms. It's just been broken down over time, and that they haven't had any real eyes on the situation for years, which is why no one really knows, Bill. I know they have things. We just don't know how much. And it doesn't really matter because they're saying they won't stop.
If you have any shred of logic left, if Iran didn't have uranium enriched to 60%, why wouldn't they let weapons inspectors in?
Oh, listen, they didn't let weapons inspectors in before they had 60% because they're a bunch of psycho zealots that want to destroy everyone they can.
Okay, so
they are liars and cheaters.
You're watching your country be dismantled, and you don't have a nuclear system. So why don't you just say, well, we'll let you in?
Who's saying they don't have a nuclear system? I'm saying
I'm posing a hypothetical question. It doesn't make any sense.
It's called a straw man argument. Go look up what a straw man argument is, Bill. This is where you make up an argument that's a proof of a proposition that has a flawed premise.
Why do that when your country is being destroyed?
Well, first of all, they don't care about the country. They care about their own existence, which it seems the administration is okay with.
Is in play. It's in play.
Is it? Trump has said he's not going to change the regime, and he's negotiating with them right now like they were an ally.
They had to kill 30,000 of their own people just recently.
Yes, because they hate their own people. Because they're terrible people. They don't love their country. They don't love their people. It's all expendable.
People believe what they want to believe. If you don't believe
Bill,
that Iran doesn't have a nuclear capability...
No, I don't believe that.
Okay.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, and it's not what I said, Mr. Accuracy. What I said was, Mr. No Spin, was we don't know what they have. That's what I said, and you know who agrees with me? The head of the IAEA. You know who else? Israel. You know who else? America, except Pete Hegseth. The intelligence people who I speak to, the guys in Riyadh that are conducting the operations and surveillance, they don't know exactly what they have. They don't know how close they were to a weapon. They just say, we got to make sure they could never have one, which is fair.
Yes, uranium enrichment at 60% sounds alarming, and it is. But that number gets thrown around without context. Weapons grade is closer to 90%. And more importantly, enrichment alone doesn't equal a nuclear weapon. There's a whole second phase, weaponization, that involves designing, testing, and delivering a warhead. Even US intelligence assessments in past years have said that leap isn't instant. It's not like flipping a switch. Another thing that backs up Cuomo's angle is the monitoring gap. After the JCPOA collapsed, access for inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency became limited. That means less visibility into what's actually happening on the ground. So when people speak with total certainty, they have this or they're about to do that. It's worth questioning how they can be so sure when even inspectors have said oversight has weakened. There's also a history here of intelligence being overstated. The Iraq War is the obvious example. Claims about weapons of mass destruction that turned out to be wrong. That doesn't mean Iran isn't a concern, but it does mean people should be cautious about jumping from partial data to definitive conclusions. And that's really the point. It's not about defending Iran or downplaying risks, it's about acknowledging uncertainty. When policymakers or commentators skip that nuance, it can push things toward more aggressive decisions without fully understanding the situation. So Cuomo's pushback makes sense. He's basically saying, if the people closest to the data admit there are gaps, then maybe we should stop pretending we have the full picture.
You said the justification for this war is a question mark. Not to me.
Yes.
There's enough evidence that shows that the Iranians were working to build a nuclear weapon. And the evidence is down from Rossi to Mossad to the U.S. Intel services. That's enough for me, Cuomo. It's not enough for you? Okay. What else you got?
Well, it's when you say it's enough, you're one choosing to believe that there was an imminent threat that the president never specified. They're saying now they don't know where the stuff is. For all of the bombing that they've done, just had this guy enumerate them, over 10,000 hits. We still don't know where the nukes are, or how you get them, or how you go about getting them.
You don't know
and that's all.
You don't know what the CIA knows. Look, I don't use Pete Hegseth on my program.
He's the Secretary of War.
I don't use him because what he says plays into a narrative that the administration wants the American public to believe. So why would I use somebody like that? I'm not disrespecting him.
You seem to be echoing the narrative.
I'm not echoing anything.
You seem to be echoing the narrative. You don't need him. You say the same thing he does.
I say there's enough evidence that they were close to enriching this bomb coming from other sources that I believe it. And I don't believe there's a fraud going on because Trump would be absolutely insane because it may break his legacy. And I said at the very beginning, it's the biggest gamble he's ever taken. If they didn't know anything, why would they do this?
I thought the tariffs were the biggest gamble he'd ever taken.
Well, this makes the
tariffs. I thought this was actually a nice pivot away.
This makes the tariffs look like a weekend in Mar-a-Lago. It doesn't make any sense.
If you're not a small business owner in America, because they're getting crushed by those tariffs.
Okay, fine. This is bigger. And what is interesting is the reportage on this is terrible because very few civilians, journalists, know. You don't know. But when you have experts like Grassi and other people coming out, and I used one of them, Lindsey Graham, okay? And he walked through, okay, you laughing at Lindsey Graham, but that's...
Yeah, in his face.
That's
in his face. You won't use Pete Hegseth, but you use Lindsey, bomb first, check second, Graham? That guy wants to bomb every country, every 5 minutes, Bill.
This back and forth really comes down to one core issue, certainty versus uncertainty. And honestly, that's where Cuomo's side has the stronger footing. Because when you look at the actual data on Iran, there's a big gap between what's known and what's being claimed. Yes, enrichment levels have reached around 60%, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency. That's concerning. But even the IAEA has been careful not to say Iran has a nuclear weapon or even a fully operational weapons program. That distinction matters. And here's something people don't talk about enough. Since international inspectors lost consistent access after the JCPOA fell apart, visibility has dropped significantly. Rafael Grossi himself has said monitoring has been seriously compromised. So when officials say we know exactly what they have, that doesn't really line up up with what inspectors are saying on record. There's also a history here that should make people cautious. US intelligence assessments have been wrong before, most notably in Iraq, where claims about weapons of mass destruction turned out to be false. Again, that doesn't mean Iran isn't a risk. It just means jumping from partial intelligence to absolute conclusions is dangerous. Another key point is timelines. Even if Iran wanted to build a weapon, experts say enrichment is just one part of the process. Weaponization, actually turning that material into a usable bomb, requires additional steps that take time, resources, and testing. It's not immediate. That's why Cuomo's skepticism lands. It's not about denying the threat. It's about asking whether the justification being presented matches the level of certainty we actually have. Because when decisions as serious as war are on the table, we think and we know are two very different things.